to the love that has laid hold of me. I'm holding on to the love that has laid hold of me.
Hey FCF, really happy to be here and continue my series with you called The Necessity of Obedience. Each week I've kind of mentioned that when God tells us to obey, it's not out of a power trip, it's not out of a desire to control us and micromanage us. It's out of complete, pure, holy love. He wants what's the very best for us. He knows what's the very best for us. We have finite limitations to understand the way our souls are constructed and what we really need. God thinks in terms of our long-term joy, health, peace, well-being. We think in terms often of our immediate impulse gratification, and those things often come back to bite us really hard. I want to read a cool verse to you. It is from the Gospel of John, and it's the last night that Jesus is with his disciples. He's hours, literally hours away from the cross. He's had a very long, uproarious evening with them. But I'm just going to get right to this verse. It's in John chapter 14, verse 21. And it's really simple. Jesus says this. He says, "The person who has my commandments," that's step one, "the person who has my commandments and who obeys them," that's step two. You have to have them before you can obey them. "The person who has my commandments and obeys them is the one who," I wonder what it says next, folks. "The person who has my commandments and obeys them is the one who loves me," says Jesus. We have this same thing repeated in the book of 1 John. It says, "This is the love of God, to obey His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous or burdensome to us." Jesus says the proof, the evidence, the truth about if a person really loves Him is that they'll first of all have His commandments, and then they will be found obeying His commandments. Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say, but I just have this love in my heart for Jesus. And, nobody can know what I feel inside for Him. Well, Jesus is pretty clear. He says, if you love me, the evidence will be, first of all, you'll have my commandments, which calls upon us to study the Word of God, to dig into it, to get a good study Bible, to take advantage of teaching moments like this and other messages, the archival messages and things we do. Take advantage of every opportunity you and I have to take in the teaching of God's truth. We have to have His commandments. We have to know the Word of God, to know the will of God before we can do or keep the Word and will of God. Jesus said, "He that has my commands and obeys them, that's the one. That's the one that really loves me." Jesus in Matthew chapter 7 gave another example of something like this. He talked about the two foundations that human beings build their lives on. He said some people build their foundation on a house, their house is built on sand. And he said that's an individual that hears the Word of God but does not put it into practice, does not obey it. Then he said there are others build their life on a foundation of rock, and it stands up against all the storms of life. And the difference was, Jesus said, they don't just hear the Word of God, but they obey it. Always, always, always that is the case. The Word of God will have no transforming effect on you. It will not be a blessing to other people until it starts becoming obedience in our everyday life. But more importantly, do you want to express love to Jesus? Well, the way we express love to Jesus is obeying His commandments. You ever wonder why that is? Because when we obey Him, He knows what that's going to bring us. It's going to bring us the very highest, most blessed quality of life that a human being can have. Jesus is blessed when we are blessed, but He can't bless us unless we obey Him. The one who has my commands and obeys them, that's the one that really loves me, says Jesus. I hope you have His commands. I hope you are ever seeking to expand on your understanding of His Word and will. And I hope you are putting it into practice. You're building on a rock. You're obeying those commands because you not only trust Jesus, but you love Him. And the evidence is we obey. Keep on holding on to that wonderful, beautiful, eternal love that has laid hold of you. Goodbye.
I'm holding on to the love that has laid hold of me. I'm holding on to the love that has laid hold of me.